Hello, guys. Welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you guys here. Today is Sunday, January 6th, 2000 and almost said 2018, 2019. Now, let's get started. Let's open up the charts and let's talk about cryptocurrencies. The first thing we're going to take a look at is here. I found an article in the South China Morning Post, and it's talking about the new way that money is changing, you know. The world is changing, and it's changing so rapidly. We've got these huge protests breaking out around the world. Last night I was watching one of the protests, and I thought I was looking at France, and I seen yellow jackets on the news, you know. And so, I mean yellow vests. I seen yellow vests on the news, and I seen a live show, and I clicked on it, and, you know, they were fighting in the street and everything, you know, and I thought I was watching France, you know, but I looked again, and I said, gee, you know, those are double-decker buses. I said, do they have double-decker buses in Paris? I said to myself, and then I looked again, and I listened to them talking, and they were yelling and shouting, and the police were tugging at them, and there's tear gas, and they had the yellow vests on. I said, no, this is France. I said to myself, and then I listened, I said, but they sounded, they were saying, they're talking like English people talk, like, you know, it sounded like Londoners and stuff, you know. So I watched it for a second or two more, you know, and the tear gas was flying and everything. I said, no, it must be Paris. And then I listened to them talking, and then I said, oh, no, these people, this is in London, you know. So it's spreading, this movement. It's now it's in Britain, you know, and it's in a lot of other countries. It's in Canada. It's spreading, and I'm going to tell you, it's big. And the world is changing. The world is changing really fast, and so is the way we use money, and so is money. And so the new thing is going to be security tokens. That's going to be a thing coming up, and it could actually be the foundation of capital markets. Could end up being security tokens. This is really true. And it says right here, he says, now this was, he says that security tokens can be the future foundation of capital markets as we evolve past the programmed money, that is Bitcoin, programmable money, in other words, into the era of programmable assets. And what all allows this is when Ethereum was born, it opened up a whole new chapter of money, quite seriously. Ethereum did. And so anyway, I wanted to point that out. Now, here's something else. The Fed is come out, I guess, and they've said that further rate hikes are unlikely. It shows a picture here of the Fed chairman with Donald Trump standing behind him. You know, Donald Trump, you know, I mean, he is actually very slowly changing an awful lot of things, you know. So I'm going to tell you what. I think Donald Trump is going to come to a trade arrangement with the Chinese. This probably next week. With big announcements. Expect a surge in the stock market. We've already made two tops. The stock markets fell off. She tried to crash. Just in the last, I don't know, a few days. I'm thinking if everything plays out just right, if all the stars are in alignment and everything else is just right, we might make a third top in the stock market if everything plays out just right. If the trade deal goes through, China and the trade war ends, that's a biggie, you know, and the Fed is saying now that they're going to give the green light to the market, you know, and no more rate increases or anything, you know. If everything goes just right, a lot of money might pour back into this market. We could make a third top. But I'm going to tell you what. The higher she goes on this third, if we do make a third top, the higher she goes, the harder she's going to crash down the other side, because the Fed is protecting their precious. Their precious is pulling $50 billion a month of liquidity out of the system to try to rebalance their books after $4.5 trillion of quantitative easing. They're trying to restore all that money. That money is what's created our economy. If you take that money away, we're going to be, I mean, it's just like if you had a drunk out in front of a bar, you know, and you went over and gave him $100 bill. Well, now he's got some money to go out and get something to eat with, but if you walk right back over to him and say, give me that $100 back, well, now he's back flat broke again. And that's the way with our economy. Our economy was built on that $4.5 trillion that the Fed basically stimulated into the economy to pump it up. Now they're going to pull all that away? Well, what do you think's going to happen? And so, yeah, we could see the stock market go up, but it's only going to go up to come down and down bigger than it's ever come down before. Basically, all that's happening is we're just buying time in this situation. Now, there's another thing I wanted to talk about here. We got the cryptocurrency market cap right now is $132 billion. We were down under $100 billion, so we are climbing. And Bitcoin dominance at 51%. But what I want to point out to you here is Litecoin. Now, why I'm pointing this out is I personally believe, it's my belief, that Satoshi Nakamoto, the guy is supposed creator of Bitcoin, my personal belief is that he does not exist. Also, my personal belief is that the real creators of Bitcoin, because everything that exists has a creator. I mean, you don't go out and buy a TV. The guy says, where is it made? Of course it's been made. It didn't just pop into the air by the tooth fairy. You know, it was made someplace, and that's the way with Bitcoin. Bitcoin had to be made someplace. It's a new invention. Nobody's ever taken credit for it. This is one of the biggest mysteries in the world right now. It's not only a mystery, I believe that it's also a conspiracy. Bitcoin's very existence represents to me a conspiracy. Okay? And I believe personally that the real creators of Bitcoin, now I got into this quite early on, and when I get into this cryptocurrency stuff, there was two big coins out there, Litecoin and Bitcoin. These were biggies. And they were always talking about Litecoin. They say, oh, Litecoin's going to go way up in price. It's going to go on Mt. Gox. They're going to list it on Mt. Gox. It's going to go way up in price. Does that tell you how far we've come from those early days? But there's two main coins, Bitcoin and Litecoin. And those are the originals. And I believe this goes all the way back to the original actual creators of Bitcoin, that they had in mind a certain idea. And the idea was to have Bitcoin be the gold, digital gold, and Litecoin be the digital silver. I think because these coins were built on open source software, any developer could take that same software and make a replica of those original coins, Bitcoin and Litecoin. They could make any different versions of them. And that's what happened. They got a hold of the original source software, other developers, and they created all these other coins that come out of nowhere. A lot of them died, you know, but still they created them. And I think a lot of them are still alive. The only one that really represented something new was Ethereum. But it's still here. It's in number 2 position, isn't it? So we had Bitcoin and Litecoin. I believe originally intended by the creators to be gold and silver. But this would mean that they're not going to let the original creators would still be behind the background, behind the scenes. And don't forget, they got millions of Bitcoins, more than likely. The original creators. They're probably the ones who they knew where all of this was going to go in the end to begin with. Okay? And I believe that they're not going to let Litecoin fall to the ground and die. They're going to have it standing next to Bitcoin in the end. And so you're probably going to see, I'm going to tell you this, what I think, and this is just my personal opinion. Do not use this stuff for financial advice. But I've been saying this for a while. I think in the end, ultimately, I think we're going to see Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, XRP, something like that. Or it might be Bitcoin, XRP, Litecoin, sort of thing. We're going to see Litecoin is going to make moves, and I think it's starting to make a move right now. But also, Litecoin is also a little bit of a canary in a coal mine. It might actually be making the move just like silver sometimes. You're going to have a good bull run, in gold and silver, oftentimes silver will take off first. Okay? And so we're seeing Litecoin, you know, starting to take off right now. I mean, you could have had them for like $10 cheaper. You could have had them for like 28 bucks there, and now they're like 38 bucks. So substantial little gains in Litecoin to be had right now. Listen, thank you guys for listening to this report. And you guys have a really great day today. Remember, it's winter. If you're up in the northern parts up here, be careful when you're driving. I'm going to tell you something about winter driving up here. It's nothing magic about it. You know, they say, well, he knows how to drive in the snow. They'll say about a person, you know, he knows how to drive in the snow. Like there's some magical ability he has to hold the car to the highway. I'll tell you what that magical ability is. Going a bit slower. I'll tell you what, folks. You want to get there a little bit earlier? Leave home a little bit earlier. Because speeding down the highway, passing everybody, only gains you about 60 seconds over the course of your trip. It's not worth it. You know, it's not worth 60 seconds. Leave home 1 minute earlier, and then you'll make that 60 seconds without having to speed. You know, and I mean, it might save your life this time of year because you could slide off the highway. Listen, thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next show. Bye-bye, guys.